So one of the big announcements this week was that Kevin Calvey is joining the Oklahoma County DA race. If you have watched this program or followed us at all, the Oklahoma County DA is the most powerful district attorney in the state. They are the DA for the largest county in the state. They drive mass incarceration for the state. The Oklahoma County DA is the single person most responsible for why Oklahoma is number one in incarceration. If the Oklahoma County DA behaved even remotely differently, we could incarcerate far less people than we currently do. Additionally, because the capital is in Oklahoma County, they also prosecute all of our political criminals, of which we probably should have a lot more. So, Prater has been, there's currently the petition. If you haven't had a chance, please go find a place to sign it. We've got it here, but
Jeez.
yeah. But Prater has been extremely picky about who he goes after and how he goes after political enemies. So he will file charges and then not pursue them. He'll go after people he doesn't like. I mean, he just does a lot of shenanigans. And the idea of putting Light Yourself on Fire, Kevin Calvey, over that is not great, folks. It's not good. Personally, I don't hate Kevin Calvey entering the race because, one, it opens up his seat. So now his seat is an open county commissioner seat. Expect to see an insane Republican primary for that because they'll be all trying to out right-wing each other to win that. But it also makes the DA race a lot more brutal. Calvey's already got 3 other opponents, so he's going to have to spend mightily to win. So they should be nuking each other. And then he'll be the candidate for the DA race. And in his opening volley here, I mean, just to give you an idea, Calvey is quoted as saying, "My first day in office, I will dismiss those charges and other wrongful charges against law enforcement and open an investigation as to how such bogus charges could have happened. The current DA's handpicked successor, Galen Geiger," so apparently that's who he thinks is his guy to beat, "lacks the moral courage to stand up to his boss on this malicious prosecution of police officers." So for those that don't know, this case is the case of Stavian Rodriguez. This is a 15-year-old child who was shot 13 times by Oklahoma City police after putting down his weapon in a botched robbery. He was locked in a convenience store, crawled out through the drive-through window, set his gun down in front of the officers, and they got trigger happy and blew him away. If you watch the tapes on this, it is the most disgusting, egregious use of police force. I mean, it was like a fucking tailgate. It's like 20 officers surrounding this thing, laughing, having a good old time. And when he comes out, 4 of them start screaming at him different things. And he, really didn't panic. On the video, it looked like he very expressly dropped, but he went to pull up his pants and they opened fire. Just completely crazy. Every officer at minimum deserves a manslaughter charge on that deal, which I think what they got. But anyway, Calvey's picking that as his thing. 4 years ago, the ACLU did polling that they released about what the number one issue that voters would like to see their district attorneys do. And you want to know what that number one issue was? This is a statewide poll, mind you. Number one issue was hold police officers accountable. 70% of respondents to that poll supported holding police officers accountable. So I don't know what Calvey's doing other than being gross and right-wing, pro-police Nazi shit. But it's not a popular issue. Voters should obviously reject it. And frankly, I think if we have a good candidate on the Democratic side in Oklahoma County, they will. Because officers shouldn't get to murder 15-year-olds without consequence. Sorry.
I
You
think
need to be smarter than the 15-year-old robbing a convenience store and dropping his gun. That should just be part of the job.
I think electorally, the best thing that could ever happen is Kevin Calvey becoming the Republican contender for district attorney, and then we wipe the absolute freaking floor with this man. And
Yeah.
there's a high probability that he probably win too because of number one, he has money. He's been elected for a long time. He has the name ID. He can self fund to some degree, and he has an incumbent job already being on the county as county commissioner. So but which for us is also a good thing too, because that means he can't also run for county commissioner, which means that they're looking for someone to run for county commissioner. And as we know, we already have two candidates who are already running for office in that area in a primary, which I actually don't think that's going to be a bad thing. A primary might actually help us out in this category and might be able to turn some more out for the general. So we might end up taking another seat. So
yeah,
it's one of those things.
It's going to be a good primary, right? I mean, it's going to be two people articulating their vision and running on issues that matter. Oh, like they're not going to spend probably a single penny destroying one another or trying to figure out who can be the most pro-gun or pro-police murder or whatever.
It's just a good primary. It's contest. I didn't know that Kevin Calvey was a licensed attorney. I didn't know.
Surprise, he is. Well, he's been the in-house attorney for OK2A, which is a quasi right-wing militia group. They are the ones who backed all the run over protesters bills, stuff like that. So I mean, Kevin Calvey's been their attorney. In fact, he probably helped them write those laws. If we had to guess,
he's a law writer.
He is. He was a legislator.
Apparently.
But so anyway, I mean, there's going to be a lot of ample stuff to go after this guy with. So if you're a Democrat considering running for district attorney and haven't announced yet, you should jump on that. CJAC, who is the entity, not the jail trust that they manage the county jail. CJAC is the coalition of very wealthy private interests that don't do jack. Hence their name, CJAC. But they did put out this very interesting dashboard about the Oklahoma County Detention Center. I'm going to try to open it. God willing, it's not going to crash my computer or crash this stream. Because it pops up a message that says this is going to take 90 seconds to generate, which means it's doing some work here in the background. But this dashboard is really interesting to look at what has happened at the county jail over the last few years. I think they're pitching this as hey, things are going great, but I interpret it as, oh my God, things are still really not great. But basically it shows how many people are incarcerated, looks at racial disparities, looks at how many people are being held pre-trial. And I think it's a real indictment of the jail, the district attorney, and others to just see how many people are being held that probably shouldn't be in there. I think it's something 89% are there pre-trial. It's still, the daily average is still up at 1,700, which is 500 over its maximum capacity. It's down from 5 or 6 years ago when it was 2,500, but it's still, horrifically overcrowded. The racial disparities haven't been addressed at all. I mean, we still incarcerate 40% of people at the county jail at any given time are black people who only make up 13% of our population in the county. So I mean, it's really an interesting tool, but it's also just really nauseating to think how many years we've been in this. Yeah, 84% is held pre-trial. The average bond is $12,000. Which means they need $1,200 to get out, which when the average family doesn't have $500 in savings is impossible. This one, 124 days, the average days detained for current population. So we are keeping people in there a third of a year. You know, I mean,
So
it's just crazy. It's so crazy.
I wonder if like this state just expects us all to learn fundraising. Like,
Yeah,
um,
I mean,
I think if they just expect us all to learn how to do all those things, because like it's complete bullshit. Like even the bail system. I mean, we all know like it's just it's wrong. Like none of it actually works and it's systematically designed not to work. Um, well, and in talking about racial disparities, like I think I think it only got worse, right? Like I think it only got worse amongst like the Latinx and Black constituencies, particularly over the course of the decade. So um, here, I mean, I mean, we know the jail is not supposed to work. It's not functional. I think like that's the thing. Like a jail doesn't work. So the debate has to be shifted away from, all right, what are we going to do with jail versus okay, what are we going to do to fix this? Because the jail doesn't fix things. It really doesn't. Like I remember hearing some state legislators saying, oh, you know, what's going to make somebody, you know, fix their drug plot problem up right away is like spending a week in the Oklahoma County jail. Excuse me.
yeah, exactly. No,
Like
in lieu of addiction treatment, mental health treatment, any of that, we're just locking people in jail. No, and you're right. Actually, the racial disparities are worst. The percentage of Black people in the jail right now is hovering around 42, 43%. And years ago, it was 40%, 38%. So back in like 2015, 2016, when our jail population was out of control, or even more out of control,
does it say anything?
racial disparities were actually a little better.
Does it say anything on the Latinx margin?
Uh, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's like 10 or 11% according to this, but I don't know how that may be a little inaccurate.
Yeah, it's safe to assume that that's probably gone up, especially with the over policing that's happening over on the south side. So
Yeah, but anyway, you know, like there's different ways to interpret it. I mean, you can say like, oh, look, we're not as bad as we were back in 2016 when the average jail population was, you know, 2,700. But it's like, I mean, this is like 2016 is on the left here, and you know, 2021 is on the right, and I mean, it's, you know, basically we got to our lowest points about 4 years ago, and we've never really gotten better since then. We've just sort of hovered around 1,700 for 4 years now. So anyway, yeah, county jail should be a giant issue for any county race. It should be the number one issue because
it is the number one issue.
Completely insane what we're doing and how little progress we've made. And the DA is incredibly powerful. I mean, like, especially when you consider 84% of people are being held pre-trial. So it's like, I mean, even if you could speed up trials, get people out on bond easier, I mean, like, there's a million ways you could address this just looking at this dashboard. 84% of the people are in there pre-trial. Like, that's crazy. They have not been convicted of anything. They are just waiting their day in court. And we are paying for that shit and just torturing people in many cases. So anyway, just absolutely crazy thing, and totally would be fixable by a district attorney. So anyway, thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.